Deep in the heart of a desolate mountain range lay the fabled Jewel Cave, a place spoken of in hushed tones by the local villagers. This cave was said to be filled with gems more beautiful and rare than anyone had ever seen, but it also housed something far more sinister, a creature that only a few had lived to speak of, a terrifying mutant bat that guarded its treasure with ferocious determination. Robert, a greedy and unscrupulous jewel merchant, had heard the legends. Unlike others, he wasn't afraid. His business had hit a slump, and he needed something big to turn it around. The thought of all those priceless jewels in the cave stirred his insatiable greed. Without hesitation, he hired a group of workers and set off to the mountains, determined to plunder the cave's riches. As they reached the entrance of the cave, Robert's eyes gleamed with excitement. The cave's entrance shimmered with faint traces of hidden gems embedded in the stone, as if the mountain itself was trying to warn them. Undeterred, Robert and his team ventured deeper into the dark, winding passages. When they reached the heart of the cave, the sight was beyond anything they could have imagined. Glittering jewels of all sizes and colors were scattered across the cave floor, hanging from stalactites and buried in crevices. The workers gasped in awe, but Robert's greed only intensified. His mind raced, thinking of the fortune he'd soon possess. Without thinking twice, he urged the workers to start gathering as many gems as possible. But something stirred in the shadows. Unknown to Robert, their intrusion had awakened the cave's true guardian, the mutant bat, its wings stretched across the cavern like a blanket of darkness, its eyes glowing red with fury. Its hideous face was scarred from centuries of battles with those who had dared to steal from its domain. The bat had grown massive over time, feeding off the very essence of the jewels it protected. It was no ordinary creature. It was a cursed, grotesque monster. The workers, sensing something was wrong, began to hesitate. They whispered among themselves, glancing nervously into the shadowy recesses of the cave. But Robert, consumed by greed, ignored their pleas to leave. He continued stuffing his bags with jewels, his hands shaking with excitement. "More!" he demanded. "Collect more! We'll be rich beyond imagination!" Just then, a chilling screech echoed through the cave. The bat had fully awakened, and it was angry. It swooped down from the ceiling with a terrifying speed, its wings creating gusts of wind that extinguished their lanterns. Darkness engulfed them, and the workers screamed in terror. But Robert wasn't scared. His greed had turned into a mad obsession. He grabbed a torch and shouted at the bat, attempting to drive it away. "This cave will be mine. The jewels belong to me," he roared, swinging the torch wildly. The mutant bat, however, was no ordinary creature. It could sense Robert's greed, the poisonous intent that clung to his soul. The creature's rage grew. With a single flap of its enormous wings, it created a wind so powerful that the jewels began to scatter, the cave rumbling as if it too was alive. One by one, the workers tried to flee, but the bat was relentless. It picked them off, its claws slicing through the air as it dived, dragging the men into the shadows, their screams cut short by the bat's ferocious strikes. Soon, Robert was the only one left, but even then he wouldn't stop. Desperate, he clutched a massive, glowing ruby in his hand, convinced that it would protect him. "I'll be rich, you won't stop me," he cried, backing into a corner of the cave. The bat, now towering over him, let out a final, deafening screech. In the dim light, Robert could see its blood-red eyes glaring at him with pure hatred. It lunged at him, its razor-sharp claws ready to tear him apart. But before it struck, something unexpected happened. The cave itself seemed to come alive. The jewels that Robert had so greedily collected began to glow with an eerie light. They pulsated with energy, as if the bat was feeding off their power. The walls of the cave trembled, and Robert realized too late that the jewels were never meant to be touched. They were cursed, a part of the creature's life force. Suddenly, the jewels Robert held in his hands burned his flesh, searing his skin. He screamed in agony, dropping the ruby, but the curse had already taken hold. His body began to twist and deform, his limbs contorting as if the cave was swallowing him whole. His once human form began to meld with the stone. stone around him, turning him into a grotesque statue, a warning to all who would dare to enter the cave with greedy intentions. The mutant bat watched with satisfaction as Robert's screams faded into silence. From that day on, no one dared to enter the Jewel Cave. The legend of Robert, the greedy merchant who was cursed for his avarice, became a cautionary tale for all. They say, on certain nights you can still hear the echo of his screams within the mountain, and the bat continues to guard its precious jewels, forever watching, forever waiting.